So out back behind our shop. Hopefully it's not too loud out here, but I figured I would just talk about how Able Trade got started. So I am a furniture maker, furniture designer. Have done cabinets and millwork in the past. So I got started doing this a long time ago. 10 years ago. And my background did not have a whole lot to do with this sort of thing. My father is a commercial contractor and always had a shop at our house, but and so I learned a lot of basic building skills from him, but didn't really learn how to build like fine furniture until much later, and that was just kind of a self-taught thing. So it had always kind of been an interest of mine, but never had much opportunity to really give it a go. And so after my wife and I got married, and we traveled for a little bit and then came back here, she knew that was something that I had an interest in, and the job I was working, which I was working at the airport, they called us ramp agents, which is a really nice way to just say bag boy. So I was a bag boy, and the company that I was working for closed down. Actually, the very first day after computer training, the very first day that I was supposed to be in the field, I walk into the break room and corporate had come down, and there was a meeting happening where they were telling us that the whole company was going under and we were all losing our jobs. So luckily that took probably, I don't know, 6 to 9 months for that to fully happen. And Melody had a stable job at the time. Well, stable. She was, making $12 an hour being a nanny. But we're pretty frugal people, and so we were able to barely live off of that. And it was her idea, actually. She said, if you've ever wanted to give it a go, maybe now's a good time. So I put the little bit of money I was making from the airport towards buying some basic tools. And after that job ended, I just started doing it out of a friend's basement, actually. So my first shop was in a basement that I believe was a roughly, 200 square feet with ceilings that were 7 feet tall. Narrow staircases and doorways to get things out. But it gave me a start. And, just like everybody else starts, you just take work from friends, doing, friends with friends of friends, and that just kind of grows. I was lucky enough that I had friends that wanted to support me in whatever way they could. I was charging nothing appropriate for any of the work, but when you don't know what you're doing, that's kind of what you have to do, I guess. And so I made a lot of mistakes. I learned a lot of things. I had a couple really bad accidents that I could talk about later. But that kind of helped me get my chops, and I got some more projects. Eventually ended up moving to my dad's shop. At the time, he lived in Loudon, which was it's about 45 minutes to an hour away from here. But it was a nice, classic red barn shop that had all the tools. I was able to use his tools, and had a lot more space. It was nice and peaceful and quiet in the woods, which was really great. But obviously there's a lot of limitations that came with that. And so as I kind of started getting more and more work, I got more and more experience, I ended up getting my own shop. which was a pretty big leap for me, to go from having a free shop that was nice to having to rent my own, sign a lease and pay my own rent and have to really make things official. But as far as getting Able Trade started, it was an idea that during this whole process I had thought about for a very long time. Probably, first had the idea maybe 10 years before we actually started it. So about 15 years ago now. I've always had a really tight-knit community. We have, at this point, my wife and I, where we live, we had convinced 3 couples who we were already really good friends with to buy houses around us because we really believed in community over, I don't even know what. We believed in community over just having a nicer place, really. So we live in a place called Oakwood Lincoln Park. It's like Old North Knoxville. And especially at the time, it's not so much anymore, but at the time it was rough. There would be drive-bys. You would, lots of drug use in the neighborhood. It was a rough area. But that also meant that property was really cheap. And so that meant that we were able to buy homes really close together. So within just 2 streets, we had our 3. There were 4 of us, 4 sets of neighbors that we all got to do life with. We started doing a food group where almost at one point every night of the week somebody was cooking for everybody else. And Melody and I also had people living with us to, help us offset the rent. But also, again, we just believed in community living more than just having excess. We had a house that had some extra rooms. And so we figured that we should have other people live with us. And so that's always been a value of ours. Because for the food group, it does practically make sense. You are able to put a lot more effort into cooking one meal a week. And it's actually, you kind of spend just as much money buying food to make a meal for 2 people as you do cooking for 10. Within reason, but yeah, there's a lot of food where, if you're going to make a salad, you're going to buy, a head of lettuce that you're not going to eat nearly half of. And so that a lot of that just ends up going to waste. So it ends up being cheaper and you end up eating better because you're only doing 1 meal a week. And so it's that like shared resources model. And then that also kind of grew into, I convinced our neighbors to all kind of pitch in and buy some yard tools because we all needed some yard tools, and you only use a mower and a weed eater once every couple weeks. And so it doesn't make sense for all of us to buy our own when we can just all pitch in, buy a decent one, and share that cost with each other. And so that line of thinking really kind of got me down the road toward Able Trade, where, a lot of the tools that we use, you're using them for a few minutes at a time. You're not generally going to occupy a table saw or a planer for an hour or more. You're just going to run a few boards through it at a time, rotate to another machine. So these expensive tools generally spend most of their time just sitting there. And so again, it just kind of makes more sense to share that with more people, and that benefits all of us because then we're all able to afford nicer tools, more tools at a cheaper rate. And so that kind of gave birth to that idea.